Tonight, we discuss the eternal problem of air pollution in the National Capital Region. We are headed towards the season where it becomes one of the biggest talking points. Today, the Delhi government has once again banned the sale and use of crackers ahead of the festival season, keeping in mind the problems of air pollution. This is a battle, viewers, the national capital has been fighting and losing to an extent since 1997. Many measures announced, many measures implemented, many committees announced, many recommendations made, report after report brought in, plan after plan announced, but none of it seems to have actually made a big difference. It's been 24 years and counting since this battle started in 1997, and we've just taken that as a benchmark. Of course, even before that, this was an issue. But in 97, the Environment Ministry issued a white paper and an action plan for the next 5 years. This included buses, autos, taxis to be run on CNG, small industries, brick kilns to be moved out of the city. The next year, the Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, or the EPCA as it's known as, was constituted. National Air Quality Monitoring Program was launched. Stations were set up to monitor pollutants. In June 1998, the EPCA submitted its report with an action plan to the top court. By now, the top court was also involved. The AC directed authorities to meet action plan deadline, ensure that it is implemented as what had been envisioned. Again, this plan included conversion of vehicles to CNG as one of its biggest things. And so it went on and on. An EPCA for several years was the key authority looking into Delhi's environment issues. In 2015, Delhi government released a 42-point action plan to address pollution sources in the city. The time frame for this plan ranged from 60 days to 1 year. In the subsequent year, CPCB, another authority, unveiled a graded responsibility plan. This was created for a coordinated response to pollution. Various regulatory bodies across NCR were brought on board, and they suggested what action has to be taken. Now, this graded action plan is still in place, GRAP as it's known as. It kicks in after a certain level of pollution is seen at a sustained basis over a few days in the national capital. But the problems remain. Odd and even scheme has come and gone multiple times. We are now looking at options like smoke towers and cracker bans year after year. Nothing seems to help the larger issue. Why is that? That's the big question. Will it always be a dream for people of Delhi to breathe clean air? And can a firecracker ban do really a lot to do anything at all, unless we actually look at bigger steps that need to be taken? I say good evening to Harish Khurana, spokesperson for the Delhi BJP, Reena Gupta of the Aam Aadmi Party, Chandra Bhushan, environmentalist, CEO for iForest, Dr. Sen Gupta, former secretary, member secretary for CPCB, Arun Shrivastava, assistant professor for environmental sciences in JNU, joining me this evening. Reena, let's start off with you. It's not an easy task, but it's a task that your government has been responsible now for several years. Where do we keep running into hurdles that year after year all we see are firecracker bans and maybe a smoke tower or two?
Tanvi, as we've been discussing this for several years, air pollution is a problem that does not recognize administrative boundaries. So Delhi on its own cannot solve the issue of air pollution. All the neighboring states, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Delhi have to come together and fight this together. If we look at the example of crackers, every year we see on Diwali nights, and a few days before Diwali, all the parameters just hit through the roof. And this year we've decided ahead of time, and also because it's a COVID year, everybody's lungs are already compromised and we cannot afford to take the onslaught of pollution anymore. So ahead of time, The Chief Minister of Delhi has taken this decision. And as a mother and as a citizen of Delhi, I'm very grateful to the Chief Minister of Delhi for having taken this decision. And I hope that the Chief Ministers of the neighboring states of UP and Haryana and Punjab will take similar steps so that those few nights around Diwali, we are not subjected to really high levels of pollution. Now, having said that, Tanvi, this is not a standalone decision. If you've been reading, we've been writing in the media that the Delhi government has a 10-step pollution plan, and banning of crackers is part of the plan. The plan ranges from looking at pollution caused by vehicles, shutting down all the thermal power plants of Delhi, moving all of our industry to clean fuel. But unless the neighboring states take similar steps, Tanvi, all we are doing is that we are shutting down all the industry in Delhi. That industry just gets transferred to the neighboring state and continues to pollute Delhi. As we all know, 70% of the pollution in Delhi actually originates from outside Delhi. So, all of us have to come together, and it's only the central government that can bring all the states together to fight this issue of air pollution, Tanvi.
No, okay. So let's go into some of the details that you said, that the steps that you have been taken. Let's talk about the big concrete ones that the Delhi government has done in the last 1 year.
So big concrete steps, Tanvi. We shut down all our power plants. We moved all of our industry to clean fuel. And we've come down very heavily on dust producing sites in Delhi. All the sites have been, either shut down, the ones which were producing dust, or they've been fined heavily. We've provided 24/7 electricity in Delhi. As a result of that, you don't have gensets in Delhi. Whereas if you look at Gurgaon, there are societies which are running completely on generator sets. As you know, diesel is one of the most polluting fuels out there. So even if you shut down all the generators in Delhi, you still have generators running in Haryana. So, and that pollution actually comes to Delhi. So there's no point doing that for us in Delhi unless Haryana also passes similar measures. We've come out with the most progressive EV policy in the country. All the Delhi government vehicles, all the cars which are rented or owned by Delhi government are all moving towards electric vehicles. And in the next 6 months, we are just completing the old contracts, and no new contracts would be given for anything else except electric vehicles in Delhi. Okay. So all of these steps have been taken, Tanvi. And as I keep saying, unless you take similar complementary steps in the neighboring states, because 75% of the PM 2.5 in Delhi actually comes from outside Delhi, you can only control that 25% by taking all of these measures in Delhi.
Okay, that number seems to vary. That in fact, that data point maybe basis what exact metric you're using. It can vary from 40% to 50% to 60%, and now Reena Gupta claims 75% of it actually comes from outside of Delhi. Of course.
No, Tanvi, let me clarify that. Reena Gupta is not claiming. In 2018, TERI, a very premier institution of the country, had come out with a report, a source attribution report, in which they had said that Delhi's PM 2.5, 75% of it originates from outside Delhi. So this is not Delhi government data, this is not Reena Gupta data, this is a TERI data that I'm citing.
Fair enough. I am referring to another one that came a couple of years before that was published, which says 60% of Delhi's pollution comes from neighboring states. Like I said, the data can vary from agency to agency, or the metric that you're looking at, PM 2.5 being one of them. Let me bring in an expert right now on this before we go across to Harish Khurana. Dr. Sen Gupta, to your mind, what are the key hurdles that we fought this battle for 24 years, and yet the problem of pollution doesn't seem to even reduce a bit?
Okay, thank you for inviting me to this very important discussion today. You know that Delhi's air pollution is a very complex problem. We have to take an integrated approach to control the air pollution in Delhi and improve the air quality. No, what I mean by integrated approach, we have to consider all the sources. Only banning the crackers or banning the this stubble burning will not solve the problem. We have to understand what are the real cause of the air pollution in Delhi. I will just narrate it. One is the major source is the vehicles. In Delhi, we have more than 100 lakhs of vehicles, more than 1 crore of vehicles. Now, you know that old vehicles which are plying on the road, we have only believing on the PUC certificate. And this is most ineffective things which is happening in the country. We should improve it, and we should go for the remote sensing based certification, so that the actual culprit who are the polluted vehicles can be identified. The second source are the small scale industries. You know, still Delhi, we have the 18 industrial areas, and besides this, a lot of areas where the industries are still in operation, and some of the industries are not legal. They are illegal industry. For example, the lead recycling industry, steel recycling industry, and then scrap melting, they are not registered with Delhi Pollution Control Committee. So these, they are not registered, so they don't take any consent, they don't take any license, and they pollute the environment of Delhi. Second one is the Delhi's neighboring states, like cities like Gurgaon, Noida, Ghaziabad, Faridabad, Panipat, etc., where there are large number of industry. Their air pollution, the pollution created by those industries are also polluting Delhi, because here there is no boundary. Here
Right.
is air from Ghaziabad can hit Delhi, air from Delhi can hit Ghaziabad, like that. The third major one, what I believe, is the in the NCR region there are 10 power plants are there, and they have not still controlled the SO2. They have to put the flue gas desulfurization system so that the SO2 can be controlled. And these uncontrolled SO2 are converted to sulfate and become the part of the particulate. So I will say that some of the pollutions are certainly coming from outside Delhi, like power plant, etc., and the neighboring industries pollution. Then one of the very important thing, what I want to mention to the Delhi residents, are the micrometeorological condition, very adverse micrometeorological condition we are observing during the winter periods in Delhi. That is from mid-October, from 15th October to say February, when there are wind speed is almost zero. There is we call the calm condition. Then the mixing height, a boundary layer under which all the pollutants are trapped. And this boundary layer goes, as per our observation, is less than 100 meters. All the pollutants which are generated during the night time and are trapped in that layer, and the concentration become very high. And when the daytime, when the sun comes, then this mixing height is broken, and then this plume is going up to 1,000 meters, and then it is dispersed.
Okay.
So these are the very peculiar situation we have in North India we are facing. And this is the second one, which is, I think, is very important, which we should know.
So, Dr. Sen Gupta, you know, you've highlighted certain important issues. Let me just get a clarification from Reena Gupta, because this is also what you quoted about the industrial units running on cleaner fuel. Now, that's what the Delhi Pollution Control Committee also told central authorities. But what does that mean? Which are these industrial units? How many of them? Because like here our expert is pointing out, many of the units aren't even registered or, for that matter, regulated.
So the industries that I'm talking about are the industries which are in the designated industrial areas of Delhi. Those have all been moved to cleaner fuel, whereas similar steps have not been taken in the neighboring states of Punjab, Rajasthan and Haryana. They continue to use pet coke and all the other polluting fuels which have been banned actually. Now, you know, coming to the power plant issue, that's a really important issue. These are really polluting power plants, and they are using outdated technology which is not used anywhere in the world. These are more than 35 years old power plants. Still, the CPCB and the central government continues to allow these power plants to run. They do not make any economic, ecological, any sense from any perspective, because the amount of pollution that they spew into the atmosphere, if you look at the health cost of all of that, it's better to just shut down all of these plants. CPCB which is under the central government, actually knows all of this. There are cases going on in the Supreme Court for years now, but CPCB just says that, okay, just pay, a couple of lakhs a month and you can continue to pollute the atmosphere. These are actually, written orders from CPCB that's, pay a couple of lakhs and just continue to allow these power plants to function. So why would you allow that, and the central government has gone ahead and given permission for another power plant in Khurja, which again comes in the airshed of Delhi. This power plant in Khurja, the world over, everybody is moving out of coal. Nobody wants to install any new thermal power plants. India is on top. We want to be the most polluting country in the world. We continue to allow and give permissions to new thermal power plants, whereas the whole world is moving towards cleaner fuel.
Okay, so let's get a response now. Multiple things, Harish Khurana, that you must respond on. Firstly, how are we going to fix the pollution problem for NCR region if the center and the neighboring states don't work together with it?
Tanvi, I think I remember last time also when we debated in October, November, exactly the same tape recorder was been there. Ki we have done this, and central government is not helping us. Punjab is doing this. After 7 years of government in Delhi, we are sorry to say that we are still banning the Diwali. That is the ultimate shame on this. Point number one. Point number two, I saw a press conference of Arvind Kejriwal other day, 4 days before. He said that we have successfully launched the stubble burning, we resolved the issue, and we have made that goal kind of thing. I have made a RTI on this. If you still, last year you remember on this, we had a lot of debates on this of stubble burning, and we have done a lot of research on this. Arvind Kejriwal has claimed. I have done an RTI on this, and I'll show you, Tanvi, a very surprising answer on this. And your viewers will be very surprised on this. I asked what are the expenditures of that particular biodecomposer capsule. The capsule costing was 40,000 rupees. Jaggery and basin, which was used for these biochemicals, was 35,780. Tanvi, interestingly, the hiring of tractor for distribution of that biochemical was 22,64,950 rupees. This was the actual fact. And the farmers, how many farmers were beneficiary? 310. And you are claiming that stubble burning, you have find a solution of stubble burning. This is the case. This is an RTI which I can give it to you, and I have already tweeted this a couple of days back. This is the seriousness of Aam Aadmi Party Delhi government. Every time they blame on others. If we have done this, only Punjab, Haryana is doing this. What about this? Stubble burning of last year, I still remember I debated with you also, Tanvi.
Yeah. Let's get a response then. Yes.
42 lakh rupees. No. Listen,
42 lakhs for tractor costs, which would benefit a couple of hundred of farmers with this solution for stubble burning that you came up with, where every other thing together costs less than a lakh. Yes, Reena Gupta.
So, Tanvi, I'm not really sure, first of all, what RTI Mr. Khurana is citing. But I'll tell you the whole biodecomposer issue, because I've been directly involved in this. It is a very, very simple solution, Tanvi. For years, we have been blaming the farmers, and we have been, expecting that they will take up the really badly drafted schemes that the central government has come up with. Happy Seeder, Super SMS, all of those. And over the years, we have seen that farmers are not adopting that scheme. So there has to be a flaw with that scheme. Last year, Pusa Institute got in touch with us. They told us that they have a very simple solution, which is a natural fungus. What you do is you just basically make a solution of the fungus, you spray it in the fields, and that speeds up the decomposition process so that the fields are ready for the next crop to be planted. Remember, the reason the farmers burn the crop is because they have very little time between harvesting of rice and planting of the wheat. So this solution has existed in Pusa for years. The central government did not want to take up this solution. I don't understand why. So when we presented the solution to the central government, we were told that central government said to the Delhi government, we do not trust your data and your figures. Please get a third party audit done. We went ahead and did that. Tanvi, we hired an agency which actually is controlled by the central government called WAPCOS. Now, WAPCOS has come out and said that in 90% of the farmers that they surveyed, the farmers were very happy and the stubble actually decomposes in 15 days, Tanvi. So it is such a simple solution. And, we spent a lot of money trying to propagate this solution. We advertised about it. And as a result of this year, the Pusa Institute has received orders from lakhs and lakhs of farmers from Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, all because the Delhi government took up this solution, advertised about the solutions, the farmers came to know about the solution, and this is not my data. This is data of the Pusa Institute. So the point is, you have to
I don't know what you're
think
going
outside the box.
Okay, now I don't know what you want to respond to Harish Khurana. She's just stated the facts about the concept that they've used, which has been put into place by Pusa. Now about your RTI, you'll have to send it across to Reena Gupta for her to respond to the specific point that you're raising. I've taken a look at it. The costing is as you are claiming it to be. The debate tonight, Mr. Harish Khurana, is about how are we going to tackle the problem of pollution for Northern India, specifically the National Capital Region. Now, are you going to answer me on what are the steps that the central government has taken? No, you won't.
Tanvi, the time you have given to her, let me complete also what I'm trying to say that. This was only one point I've stated. What about e-buses? Where are the e-buses? Last year they said we will be bringing 1,000 buses. Where are the tender? They have not bought till date.
Mr. Khurana, why don't you tell us what you've done? Tell us what the central government has done. One thing that the central government, Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, any of these governments have done.
I've not spoken a single word on when she was speaking. Tanvi, you have to intervene in this.
Go ahead and make your point, Harish Khurana.
1,000 buses what they were planning to bring last year. You still remember I was debating on this. Where are the buses? No buses till date. Today, there are only 3,700 buses are there of DTC. Demand is 11,000 buses. People are using their own cars, their own scooters, their own two-wheelers. The basic cause of emission is vehicle emissions. Why don't you understand? Point number one. Point number two, you have appointed an agency for real-time survey, if you remember, of some foreign university, and you paid 60 crore rupees. What happened to that? Is the public exchequer money is not getting wasted? What about that? Point is not this. Point is you have to accept your problem, your failures. Then only you can get the solution. Your government is a total failure on pollution.
Let me pick up a point that you've made here, and I'm going to take it across to our other panelists. Two of them are yet to speak. Professor Arun Srivastav, one of the biggest cause for pollution also, at least within what is being generated in Delhi or NCR, will be vehicular pollution. Now, experts would say the big solution there is to strengthen your public transport. The point that Mr. Khurana is also raising, we seem to be moving excruciatingly slowly when it comes to strengthening that public transport.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. I have been working on air pollution for the last 25 years, and what I have observed over the time, that vehicles, especially in Delhi, is one of the major culprits. In fact, vehicles contribute around 80%, and in some cases more than 80% of the total pollution. So attributing it to some particular source of pollution will not be good. One of the major pollutants, as we all know, that the traffic, vehicular pollution. Vehicles are the major menace because there are huge number of vehicles in Delhi, around 12 million vehicles in 25 million population. Each 2 persons has a vehicle. So vehicular pollution has to be taken care of either by maintaining the vehicles, or one of what I have observed over the time, because I also drive. So congestion of vehicles, if you compare it with other cities of the world, we'll find the congestion, traffic jam, unruly behavior of the traffic is one of the major problems for which aggravate actually the pollution level. Especially if we come, if we talk about the month of October, when onset of winter is there, this problem starts persisting or intensifying because due to the stable atmosphere, the pollution usually do not disperse into the atmosphere easily. So that aggravates the situation. So what I feel, according to me, that we will have to pinpoint mainly on the vehicles. If we solve it, I think almost 50% of Delhi's pollution problem can be solved. Above all, I must say that Delhi's natural climate is semi-arid. Delhi itself is a semi-arid kind of climate. It is, you can say, kind of desert, not exactly desert, but partially it is a desert. So we can naturally anticipate particulate matters, especially fine-sized particulate matters in the atmosphere. That is one of the reasons. It combines or accumulate with the pollution or particulate matters generated with the vehicles. Above all, transboundary migration. This is one of the major problems. One of the major contributors to the particulate pollution of Delhi. So we'll have to work on this. If you especially see the AQI, AQI is one of the defining or deciding parameters of the pollution in Delhi. AQI's maximum limit is 999. In some cases, AQI level crosses even it goes up to 999. We fortunately do not have the measuring scale beyond 999. Otherwise, it would have crossed that also. And if we analyze it further, we'll find that maximum contribution in AQI, although there are 8 or 7 parameters in AQI, but maximum contribution comes from the PM 2.5 or PM 10. Again, it proves that the vehicles are the major contributor, because if crackers or stubble burning would have been the cause of pollution, the gaseous contributors would have also been significant, but that is not the case. So vehicles, it has been proved by many researches,
Right.
many forums, by many works, that vehicles, what I want to say that we'll have to pinpoint, we'll have to focus solving the vehicular issues.
Okay.
And with this, they can solve problem to a very large extent.
Okay, and I'm going to get Reena to comment on this in just a bit, but Chandra Bhushan first, and thank you for patiently waiting, Mr. Bhushan, for your turn. To your mind, should that be one big aspect where we've not looked at? Let's just realistically first talk about things which are under the control of Delhi government and things that they can tackle, because at the end of it, otherwise we keep fighting with Punjab, Haryana, UP, central government, and that's a larger issue. It's hugely political. So let's start with what Delhi can do.
Well, what Reena has said is what they can do. Unfortunately, I think most of the work that is happening by the Delhi government or by the central government or by neighboring state is more to show rather than to do. So I'm sorry to say that, in your program, I'm listening for half an hour, and I have been listening for the last 10 years. You get 2 politicians to blame each other, and you get 3 experts that don't agree with each other. Okay, this is what it is. The 3 experts that we are sitting here right now do not agree what is the contribution of source of pollution. Which sector is contributing more. Mr. Srivastava thinks that automobile contributes 80%, whereas Dr. Sengupta will not agree to that. But the fact is, I think we need to go beyond this, debate that we do every time just before Diwali and look at what we need to do. I think Delhi government actions are not substantial. Let's believe it. Let's accept it. And they cannot do it in 1 year as well. Air pollution is your economy, is your air pollution. It is because of your economic activities that air pollution is there. You burn coal in thermal power plant, you burn oil in automobiles, and you burn gas and other things at your house and firewood in your house. So your energy basket is your air pollution basket. Now, unless and until you solve your energy basket, how can you solve your air pollution basket? Unfortunately, we have not solved our energy basket. We still depend on coal to meet 50% of nationally 50% of our energy demand. Oil and gas are significant contributor to our energy basket. So doing little bit of things are not going to solve our air pollution problem. And apart from that, I think Dr. Sengupta made it very clear that it is not about Delhi. It is the geography of northern India during this season, which itself is a major problem. So we have to do far more than what others are doing because our geography is disadvantaged. So I'm not sure where this debate is going, because we
So
know
let me
what
ask you this. Let me ask you this. You
Yeah.
made a very valid point about when you said that a lot of steps that are taken are actually more for for perception rather than actual impact on ground. Now, do you believe that a ban on fireworks is something to that extent?
No, I think it's a civic duty to not do firecracker. It is not only a problem of air pollution, it is also a problem of noise. When has historically firecracker has been something which can be linked to our culture and religion? It is civic duty of all of us. We don't need government to ban it. And I know people who voluntarily do not burst firecrackers. Why do we need direction of government to say what is our civic duty?
Okay, fair enough.
I've never understood this.
Well, because for a lot of our civic duties, we don't do it ourselves. Despite a ban, you will see large-scale violations that will take place. Everybody in Delhi suffers, and I'm saying not just Delhi. It will be any other city in North India, many cities across India that suffer badly for a few seasons every year. But what steps do we as individuals take? We don't. Vehicular traffic is a big contributor. Do we take steps to take more public transport even when decent public transport is available? We don't. Generators contribute in a large way. Do we take any steps to cut down on our power consumption to that extent? We don't. So,
Tanvi, do you think that this problem can be solved by government? Think about it. Okay, can this problem actually be solved by government without civic participation? I think all of us should sit down and think about it at some point of time. Okay, it's very easy to blame government and point out finger, but is it within government ability to solve this problem without civic participation?
okay, fair enough. Point that you've raised. Dr. Sen Gupta, do you want to comment on that? Can this problem be solved without civic participation? It's all right to have a very simplistic debate about to ban firecrackers or to not ban firecrackers and the religious aspect of it, but civic participation is essential in battling this issue.
As I mentioned in my opening remarks, that we have to take an integrated approach. There is no one solution. And we have missed, I was not allowed to complete my statements. There is the MSW, Municipal Solid Waste Dump Yard, is also creating pollution. For that, the Delhi government is responsible for that. Still, there is a fire hazard in those MSW dump site, and it is creating problem. Petrol pumps are emitting benzene because we are not recovering the benzene from that, and benzene is a proved carcinogen. We are not controlling that. So there are so many other sources are there. Only we should not blame only the PM10 and PM2.5. There is a benzene pollution. There is a DOC's problem. There are other pollutants are there, which are the very complex situation. And both central government and Delhi government have to do it. And we have to take an integrated approach. Banning these crackers will not solve the problem. For 7 days if you ban it. But still the problem will be there. We have to take again, I will repeat it. We have to take an integrated approach. We have already identified all the sources. We have to take step by step, like clean fuel, as Chandra Bhushan ji has mentioned, that clean fuel is very important. Government is bringing the electric vehicles, which is very, very good thing. Then we are going for the PNG. For
10 seconds.
Yeah, just let him finish. Just let Dr. Sen Gupta finish. 30 seconds to him, and then I'm coming to you.
Yeah, like PNG for the industries is good, but we have to tackle the illegal industry, which are unregistered industry, which are processing the battery waste, which are emitting the lead. So lead is highly toxic. So lead is highly toxic, benzene is highly toxic, which are all poisoning the cities here. We have to take care of those things. And again, we have to take an integrated approach. We have to attack the industry. We have to attack the neighboring industry, like from Ghaziabad, pollution is coming, from Faridabad it is coming, from Panipat it is coming. So we have to work with those state government and control the pollution in those areas also. And then we have to tackle the vehicles, especially the in-use vehicles which are on road. We have to improve our PUC system, which is totally, we are unable to control the in-use vehicles, the vehicles which are on road to control it.
Yes.
And there is a fuel adulteration issue. There are so many issues are there. we have already identified, we have to take steps, and both state government and central government, they have to take all the steps and the integrated approach to be taken so that the
So,
situation
in fact, Dr. Sen Gupta, coming back to the point that we were discussing earlier as well, even for vehicles, even if a scheme like odd and even was brought in and experimented with, the reality was that we know how many people violated that. For every subclause that was there was also a jugaad that was present to allow people to use their vehicle this way or that way. 20 exception categories present, and everybody found a way to be in one of those categories to be still able to use their. So obviously those plans are not going to work unless there is people support coming in. Yes, Reena Gupta wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please. And while you are at it, Reena, do tell me the update on the addition of buses, public transport strengthening, that is also key to this.
So Tanvi, just going back to what Mr. Chandbhushan was saying, that the citizens of the country have to demand action from the government. Unless, just to give you an example, out of the 22 most polluted cities in the world, 17 are in Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is going to have an election in a few months. What do you see on the debates on UP? Hindu Musalman. Have you heard one debate in UP on the issue of air pollution? 17 of those cities, including the PM's constituency, are the most polluted cities in the world, let alone in India. So unless you start demanding action and all the citizens come together, Delhi is one of the most regulated and most monitored cities in the world, actually. There are cities in UP where you don't even have a pollution meter to actually figure out what is the pollution level in that city. Now, coming back to the buses issue, Tanvi, I agree with you. It is a very, very complicated issue, and it is something that the Delhi government has been trying to work on for a really long time. Sometimes there's an issue with the tender. Sometimes, the Bharatiya Janata Party goes to court actually and files a complaint against the tender. Sometimes they don't give us a parking space in Delhi. So, to actually work on this, what we are really working on is now actually to promote as many electric vehicles in Delhi as possible. And right now in Delhi, with all the incentives that the Delhi government is giving, buying a new electric two-wheeler is actually, as expensive as buying an IC two-wheeler. So we are hoping that by 2024, we've set a target for ourselves. At least 25% of the vehicles, of the two-wheelers in Delhi should be electric two-wheelers. And we are really hoping that will have a big dent on the vehicular pollution in Delhi.
All right, Harish Khurana, please go ahead and respond to it before I wrap it up. Yeah.
Tanvi, you have also already listened to her. Out of 5 minutes, she was speaking on what you asked. 3.5 minutes, she only spoke about UP and other states, not about their failure.
You haven't even answered my question for a single second, just pointing it out.
Tanvi, point is, we should know what the actual causes are.
Yeah.
75% of the cause is due to vehicle emissions and the construction particles which
From
comes
where
in.
are you getting that number, Mr. Khurana?
Let me complete. This is not a manner to talk. I'm talking now. 75% of these are the two problems which has to be catered by the Delhi government, which unfortunately has not been done. You know how many four-wheeler or electrical vehicles are there in Delhi? Only 4,000. Only 4,000. So this is a kind of policy what they're making in. What kind of another example? 1,200 crore rupees have been collected through environment cess. You know how much they've spent? Only 72 lakh rupees. So these are the kind of work they're doing on the ground. And unfortunately, they have to see what they're doing actually.
I'm very sorry,
Problem
Mr. Khurana. You cannot come in and give out this cooked up data on national TV.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mr. Khurana, you are quoting extremely dated information.
Yeah.
And authority versus authority on your data versus Y data. How much of environment cess has been used? All of that, Mr. Khurana.
The BJP IT cell that Mr. Khurana is quoting. I'm very sorry, Tanvi.
Yes.
I can give it to you right now.
Harish Khurana, she asked you a simple question. Where are you quoting your data from?
Which one?
The data about the contribution of vehicular traffic. I'm not even going to go into the environment cess because that's a last year's story.
Want RTI? I'll give it to you right now. See,
RTI on vehicular emission contribution.
Sorry?
What is
Sorry?
the, where are you quoting this data from of how much of Delhi's pollution actually comes from vehicles?
You can see all the guys. I mean, more reports are there. I can give it to you. Problem is this: they don't understand what the actual problems are. Actual problem
Why
is
don't you
this:
tell us right
50%.
now which report are you talking about? The last study was done by Terry in 2018.
Tina, I don't believe in your 2018 reports. The fact is, the people
That is
of
not
Delhi
my
are
report,
facing
Mr.
it.
Khurana.
After 7 years, after 7 years of your government, we are still
Delhi
facing this
pollution
problem.
has
We are
actually
still
come down
Okay,
by
I
25%, Mr.
am
Khurana.
completely out of time.
After
I am
7
completely
years,
out of time. I suspect we're going to have lots more of these conversations. This is not the end of it. This is actually the beginning of it. The beginning, because the Aam Aadmi Party and the government in Delhi have moved quickly this time to announce a ban on firecrackers, to say we didn't want to wait till last minute, because that then impacts the traders, the sellers of these fireworks, because they would have put in their money. Before the Supreme Court or any other court or tribunal can actually wrap the government on taking this step, they have. And I think I'm going to appreciate the Delhi government for taking this step. But I also, along with that, will say that this is the lowest hanging fruit. Like Mr. Bhushan said, this is what people should be doing on their own, as their own choice, as their civic duty. The responsibility for the Delhi government, along with the central government, is to fight the bigger battles. And unfortunately, I suspect year after year, as it's been at least the last 7 years, this battle just becomes between two sides, a political battle and not really a battle against pollution. The plan that was made in 1997, 98, and then revised in 2001 was similar to what was brought up in 2015. Can you imagine that? And even today, if you had to bring in a committee, they would tell you the same things have to be done. It's because on ground, governments are failing to implement it, that things don't change and people have to suffer. People need to start demanding that pollution becomes a big issue for their government. Thank you for joining us on this conversation.